Excuse me. At this time, I will call the meeting of the Marshall City Council to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. We do have a prepared agenda before us. Are there any changes to that agenda? If not, we'll operate under that agenda. The first item then is to consider the approval of the minutes of the last regular council meeting. That was held on September 17th. The council does have the printed minutes from that meeting. I'll ask at this time if there's any corrections at this time.
I move the minutes from last meeting.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, seconded by Larry to approve the minutes as they have been presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Agenda item number 2 is a public hearing, and Glenn had to step out for a second, so let's move on to agenda item number 3, and then we'll come back to number 2. Agenda item number 3 is a consent agenda. The purpose of the consent agenda is to handle items that can be handled under one action that typically don't take a lot of separate discussion. The items on the consent agenda are only 2. First would be the application for the display of fireworks and pyrotechnic special effects for the SMSU Alumni Association, and second are the bills and the project payments. And then for information purposes are the building permits that have been previously approved by city staff. So is there any item on the consent agenda that any member of the council wants removed for purposes of separate discussion?
I move the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, seconded by Dan to approve the items on the consent agenda. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Let's move on to agenda item number 5, and again, because our Director of Public Works had to step out for a second. Agenda item number 5 is to consider the labor agreement, approval of the labor agreement with the Law Enforcement Labor Services. This is for the police officers for 2007 and 2008. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. Close for review, as you indicated, is a proposed 2-year labor agreement with Law Enforcement Labor Services, which are the police officers for 2007, 2008. We've identified in the memorandum to you primarily a lot of the date changes that occurred in that contract, with the exception of the base wage changes that included the 2007 adjustments due to the compensation plan that you adopted last June, and then a 3% wage proposal for 2008, and a slight change in revisions to the equipment list. We'd recommend approval.
Okay. Are there any questions about this labor agreement? If not, is there a motion to approve this agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dan, seconded by Larry. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. This time, let's go back to agenda item number 2. Agenda item number 2 is a public hearing. This will be a public hearing on Project Y15, which is the Tree Street Improvement Project. We will have a hearing, conduct a public hearing. Following the public hearing, we will consider the resolution that would adopt a supplemental assessment. So to conduct a public hearing, I'll call on Director of Public Works, City Engineer Glenn Olson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. What you have in front of you is approximately 52, I believe, assessments that have been modified to reflect actual installation lengths of sewer services. And of those, I understand that I'm just looking at a request from Corey Hartman concerning the concern that they have of their assessment. And this one was originally estimated at 78 feet of length of sewer service. The actual length that was installed on the project was 78 feet. Now, I just got done talking with staff about this one as well, and this is another one of those interesting ones, we'll call it, that there were several sewer services that were either hooked together or extended a considerable distance. And where we encountered the sewer service on the property adjacent to the water service was cast iron and in good shape, and we connected to it at that point. That was 78 feet from the sewer main. Now, I think on their behalf, we did not know exactly where and that existing cast iron service connected to another service line in the area. So I think it would be best maybe to have the Hartmans come and maybe give some information of that. But generally, that's what this assessment does, is it modifies the original assessment to accommodate the actual amounts installed. And as you can see, most of them are less than the original assessment. This one that we're talking about, is that this one, $619 yonder, was about $200 more, $180 more than the original assessment was intended to be. But yes, it is true that it was connected to a cast iron line, but was 78 feet of installation. If there's any other questions to that, I'd sure try to handle them.
Okay, first, as part of the public hearing from the council, are there any questions of Glenn on the report? If not, open it up for public input. Anyone here that would like to discuss the proposed assessments? Yeah, and you could come forward. I'd like you. You can sit there, yes. But I do need to have you say your name for the record.
I'm Corey Hartman.
Okay.
I guess what I need to know is that 78 feet, that had to be replaced?
This,
That was what, I mean,
the 78 feet was replaced because it came from the main to the location of the interception of your sewer service. And Kim is here too tonight from our staff, that maybe he can explain that to you better on the map. So if we could let them talk about it a little bit first and explain it, and then come back to it, is that okay?
Yes, and then so we could recess this public hearing. Dennis, I'm looking at you for procedure. Recess the public hearing until later in the meeting. We'll move on with the other agenda items. We will come back and come back into the session as part of the public hearing.
That sounds fine. Just proper motion to recess and reconvene then.
So move. Okay, motion by Dan, seconded by Larry to recess and until later in this meeting. Discussion? Not all the, call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Okay. The agenda item number 4 is project X75, which is the wastewater treatment facility equalization basin project. We have a change order. This is the third change order, as well as the final change order, as well as the acknowledgement of the final payment application. Once again, Glenn.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This finals out the equalization basin project, and I do want to make a couple comments on this one. This was a difficult one for us to final. We had some issues with the liner that was installed, and we had a lot of work back and forth between the consultant, the contractor, and the city to take care of that issue. And in the end, there was some additional time spent on the project by all of us, and the project wasn't complete by the substantial completion date. But in the discussions with the consultant he still recommended that we final it out with no retained monies for that extra time according to the contract. I did remind them that that's the only way that we can have money available to pay for any extra engineering costs associated with the additional time spent on the project. And they still then recommended full payment to the contractor in this amount with no retainage. So they were put on notice in writing too that we would not then be able to pay additional fees for any time that they spent after the completion date. I think that's an important thing to note in this, just in the discussion of this final change order and final payment. And I would recommend that payment be made in accordance with the recommendation of our consultant. And the project is a good one. We have a good project in the end.
Okay, questions for Glenn?
What's all left on the project?
Nothing. It is complete.
Now
It
it's
is-
complete.
It is complete.
Was the liner replaced, or you just?
It was added to.
Okay.
It was added to.
Any other discussion on the motion? Or any other questions for Glenn? If not, is there a motion?
I move approval of the change order under the agreement that Glenn has stated with the engineering department, et cetera.
Second.
Motion by Larry, seconded by Mike. Discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 6. This is a discussion information item from the Green Space Committee pertaining to the naming of the parking lots. I'll introduce first Mr. Harry Weilage, and you will then also introduce Elaine from the Green Space Committee.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. We wanted to get some feedback from the council and figured since you had such a short agenda tonight, this would be an appropriate time for the conversation. As you're aware, the council has asked the Green Space Committee to take a look at the renaming of the parking lots, and that has been brought forward to the committee. I'd like to introduce Elaine Conyers, as we've asked her to come and share with the council some historical names that we think appropriate to the downtown area, which obviously has been historical to Marshall for quite some time. So with that, I'd like to introduce Elaine Conyers.
Thank you. About a month ago, the Downtown Amenities Committee asked me to attend one of their meetings and present to them some historic figures that might possibly be used in this project. And I came with 23, and of those 23, the committee then picked the following 6 lots in downtown. Do you want me to read the synopsis that I have for each?
If you're comfortable with that, yes.
The present P lot, I would rename Whitney. C.H. Whitney was the founder of Marshall. He came to southwest Minnesota from the East Coast with the idea of further development of this vast prairie. After traveling throughout southwest Minnesota, he and 3 others each homesteaded 1/4 of which is now downtown Marshall in 1869. Whitney returned in 1870, built a sod house, and began negotiations with the Chicago Northwestern Railroad to build their new line, the Winona-St. Peter, to his homestead site. The new line was built and ended at Whitney's site in July of 1872. And as you recall, that's the date that we picked then for the celebration of Marshall's 125th was in 1979. Thank you. In the meantime, Whitney built a hotel known as the Whitney Hotel on the site of the present landmark Bistro, which was formerly the Atlantic and then the New Atlantic Hotel, to accommodate the 250 railroad men who rode the first train to the end of this line. They were fed and housed at Whitney's Hotel. After consuming a meal prepared by Mrs. Whitney, the dining room floor collapsed and they all landed in the basement. None were injured. They then went outside where they argued which of the railroad men the new town site should be named for. After much discussion, they turned to Mrs. Whitney and asked her to name the town. She decided to name it after her husband's post office, Marshall. The post office had been named after the governor of Minnesota, William R. Marshall. The railroad men then proceeded to baptize the town by pouring water on the ground and proclaiming, "Marshall shall forever be a dry town." The second one, and I just mentioned here, I do mention Mrs. Whitney, and I think that's important because in going through all of history, women did not seem to make history. They made meals. So I did want to get her in there. The lot behind the museum or behind Sam's and those places, I would suggest renaming Addison. R.M. Addison was one of the first settlers of Marshall, coming here in 1872. Then in November of that year, he and his partners erected a building at the present site of the Addison Building on the corner of Main and College Drive. Now, the one that we see there today is not the original one. It was a wooden building, and of course, there were many fires in downtown Marshall, and he later built the present structure. He hauled lumber from New Ulm. The daily sales at the store sometimes reached between $2,000 and $2,500 a day. In 1887, he built a brick structure that stands there today. He played an important part in the history of Marshall during the 40 years of his residence in the city and did much towards the building of it. He served as mayor of Marshall and was treasurer of Lyon County for one term. He was also vice president of the First National Bank for 20 years. His son Harry was in business with his father. His son Robert M. Jr. was also associated later with the firm. Now, looking at the lot behind the wooden nickel, we suggest the name Rose. A.P. Rose was the author of An Illustrated History of Lyon County, Minnesota, which was published in August of 1912. Rose is also the author of histories of Nobles, Jackson, Rock, Pipestone, and Yellow Medicine counties. He also served as postmaster for the city. He and his wife resided at 506 Pleasant Street. He lived in Marshall until his death in the late 1960s. His son, Arthur Duane, or better known as Bud, established the Bud Rose Florist, which is presently run by Barbara Rose and Byron Marinell. Wait a minute. The lot, okay, here we go. The lot behind the present site of Bott's, we would suggest Weatherby. F.S. Weatherby built a hardware store in Marshall as early as 1884. Before starting his business in the city, he farmed in Lake Marshall Township and was one of the first farmers to receive title to government land. Sometime later, his brother S.J. Weatherby joined him in the business of general merchandise and farm machinery. James Weatherby took over the business until the early 70s when he moved to Iowa. The location of that business was on the corner of Main and 4th Street, or the present site of Bott's. The city lot, we would suggest the name Baldwin. Ray D. Baldwin came to Lyon County in 1879 with his family, where his father homesteaded in Stanley Township, moving to Marshall in 1881. After graduating from Marshall High School, Ray Jr. learned the printer's trade and worked in the news messenger office as foreman. He was president of the Marshall Building and Loan Association and a member of the Marshall Fire Department. He and his wife moved to Oregon in 1912. Their children, Ray D. Jr. and Gertrude, stayed on in Marshall. Ray D. Jr. and partner John Belowski purchased the Daily Messenger newspaper, which they produced in the telephone building, which sits next to the library. Ray was also the publisher of that paper. The Henleys then later bought the newspaper from Baldwin. After that, Ray opened an office supply store on Main Street where he also printed sports catalogs and other types of things in the rear of the building. And then in 1869, Howard and Dorothy Broman purchased the building and the business from Baldwin. Ray lived over 100 years, and he liked to tell people that he had lived in 3 centuries. The lot behind the Varsity Pub, we would suggest Blake. Major John Winslow Blake came to Marshall in 1872 in the employment of the Chicago and Northwestern Railroad Company as a civil engineer who assisted in the construction of the Winona and St. Peter Railroad that came here. He lived in Marshall until 1891 when he relocated to Dalton, Georgia, where he died in 1903. But his body was returned to be buried in the Marshall Cemetery. He was one of the leading men of Marshall who played an important part in the business, political, and social life of the community in pioneer days. He held the office of county surveyor for many terms and represented his district in both houses of the Minnesota legislature.
Thank you, Elaine.
And I have
It's always nice to talk about history, and especially with our students that are in attendance tonight, and we thank Elaine for those suggestions. Glenn and I also talked about a number of things that we'd like to propose to the council when we're thinking of this as well. While we have the existing temporary parking lots, both at the junior high site and at the Varsity Pub site, it would be our recommendation to take a look at landscaping our public municipal lots and putting the same type of detail, if you will, and I'll explain that in a few minutes, that we're doing at the Liberty Park. I think unless we do that, you're going to still have the same references to the same old parking lots until we make it not only a visual, but a pleasing visual change to our municipal lots. The best I could do to find some of the old artist renditions of the lots, although they're over 10 years old, but they're still quite accurate. If I might, Glenn, could you point to the fencing railing? And I know it's difficult for the council to see, but I think you've seen these artist renditions. They've been around forever, maybe not for Jenny, but we can show. But it's the same type of railing that we did at the band shell and at the entrance of Liberty Field. They've got slight arches in them. They finished the green that we have with the theme of the downtown park. And we're not suggesting that we're going to fence in all the parking lots, but add just details to the corners and do things that can bring it in, that it's a public facility, and make that feel like it's a part of the downtown area. We would also suggest at least a minimum 3x3, what do we call it, Glenn? Taking out the 3x3 along the parking area to create a landscaping area that we can provide some shading, some trees, along with what we're providing with the downtown landscaping, and also some cover to the passing by as far as a winter and seasonal landscaping plan. I think we can do that for a fairly inexpensive piece, but I think it will add, much as the landscaping has, to the lots behind by the senior center. Let's see, it's the Whitney lot now, if it's approved by the council. And I think that sounds awfully nice, that we can do something historical and aesthetically pleasing. I would also add that, as we add the bridge in Liberty Park, we use that same railing. We've had just great response from our public on that kind of detail that's locally manufactured. And I know our other partner in the downtown area, the Schwan Food Company, is very interested in keeping those details to go with, to develop a sense of downtown as well. Glenn, anything to add to that?
No, we talked about phasing, a little bit of a phasing program, and also talking about some more improvements that we really need to do, the dumpster areas that we haven't really brought forward yet. We'll want to do that this winter as well.
And I guess I'd reemphasize, what we're talking about is excavating a 3x3 minimum for some landscaping to get that started. Now, if we're coming back and gonna redo the parking lots, that's a different assessment project that Public Works would do. But I think the sooner we get that tie-in done, the sooner we start seeing the development of the downtown as a viable spot. And I think we can do that for a reasonable amount of dollars. And just looking for input from the council to keep moving in that direction, to get that done, because we are gonna do the bid process for trees and landscaping over the wintertime and get that done in the springtime. That would be an appropriate time to finish it.
Okay, we'll open up for questions. Thank you, Harry. Thank you, Elaine.
Harry, that 3x3 you're talking about, you're making one 3x3 cutout? Or you're taking,
It would be really different in each parking lot. For example, the Wood Nickel parking lot, I think we could be working with Wells Fargo. There already exists an area that could be landscaped. Right now, it just has rock in it. And those are things that we're asking for input, because we could talk about that. In the city parking lot down here, we do it along the 4th Street sidewalk. Would be the area we'd want to do it and finish it off. The Addison parking lot, as Lane, I'm trying to recall the right naming, would be again along College Drive, so that we get the screening from the truck traffic and also get the impact of municipal parking lot. So it'd be that minimum 3x3, excavate it, put the black dirt into it, landscape it, fencing. To some degree, we'd bring those plans before the council before we'd authorize any bids on that, and then create a pedestrian flow through each of those. And those would be the only 3 that I'd be
So
suggesting.
you're looking for concept approval, not funding approval tonight?
Correct. Just, again, informational discussion.
Other questions? Mike?
Well, the one you're talking about, Blake, over by the Varsity Pub, that's really has been purchased and is a temporary.
Right, and I didn't mention the Blake one yet. I've only
Right,
mentioned
okay.
the other 3. Those would stay, the reason we're saying do it now over the next 2 years is we've got the temporary at the junior high and the Blake, so that we can do that while we're making those adjustments. It seems reasonable at that time. Blake would stay the way it is until something more permanent was decided, Mike.
Other questions?
Just more of a comment than a question. I really like the idea of the history, naming the things, and as the city continues to grow, we can use different names so we have some concept of where we're going to go with that. I think the rest of it has some potential. We'll have to look at cost factors and where we're going to go with that concept. And, when it comes through green space, I'm assuming, take a look at it and go with that.
Any other questions?
well, I think that's what Harry's asking. Do we want him to come forth with some concept? Isn't that where you're at, Harry?
That's just to bounce it off before we spend a lot of work on it.
Yeah, I'd like to see something like that. See what it would entail.
I agree. I think an example is, and many of you have been on a detour on Highway 212 all summer. That's been open now through the city of Bird Island, and they have some quite simple but fencing that are more decorative fence between a couple of their parking lots and the highway there. And I think that provides that definition, that separation, that,
And you see that downtown Granite Falls too, backside by the river.
Yeah.
Our parking lots are an awful visible spot to our community, especially coming on College Drive. We need to pay some attention to them. Great.
Question for Dennis, procedurally, to officially rename the parking lots, is that done by ordinance?
You can
Or
do it
resolution.
either way, I believe, resolution or ordinance.
So actually, maybe resolution would be simpler.
Yeah.
That could be handled in one action. Any objection from the council in a future agenda item to bring forth a resolution with the suggestions that have been made for the renaming?
Only the one I was referring to, if that area is going to be ultimately for redevelopment and not a park. Do we want a parking lot, do we want a name?
Do you
I
want
was
to?
at the Green Space Committee when we talked about that.
The reason that they brought forth that name blanket, that parking lot, was suggested by Sheila had brought it forward, because if it does eventually end up to be a parking lot, then it's already got a name. And if we're gonna be using it for a parking lot in the meantime, it's got a name. You know, so it's not like the parking lot by the varsity anymore, it's called Blake. Okay, so it's not like it has to stay a parking lot, or it's gonna be a permanently named parking lot. If it ever becomes a permanent parking lot, it'll be Blake, until it becomes whatever it is, it'll be Blake parking lot. And she just felt it'd be best to have that designation for that parking lot, rather than leaving that one hang out at the end of nothing.
Or be in reference as a business name rather than.
Yeah.
Just a quick one, and it doesn't really pertain too much, but where did A.P. Rose live at in Marshall? Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay.
506 Pleasant.
506 Pleasant.
506
Oh.
Pleasant, yeah. I think someone here lives there currently. I appreciate that. One last item of information. On this site too, we have kiosks, which we have 2 of those in the existing budget for the Green Space Committee. We are working with a local manufacturer to work with that, and we aren't really designating a place on it. They're going to be portable. We know that we're going to have needs for kiosks throughout the downtown area, and where they should be placed is almost like college campuses. You know, let the kids make the trails and then utilize them. We know they're going to be around the parking lots. So we're going to start with that, then have a permanent installation at some time in the future, but work with the downtown businesses and our traffic to find out where they're most appropriate.
Glenn?
Sorry I wasn't here earlier. Is the Blake lot just north of the alley, or is it both sides of the alley? Did you incorporate both of those parking lots into one name or 2?
I think they just said name that, at this point, it's a temporary parking lot, name it the Blake parking lot, and that doesn't mean it can't turn into a development piece, only for informational purposes at this point. There'll be parking somewhere in there when it finishes, so, does that answer?
The other question about naming, in addition to the parking lots, we've also talked in various points at various meetings about the name of the downtown park, renaming that to the suggestion that had come forward most often is Memorial Park. Do we want to have the naming of that park done at the same time as the resolution comes forward as the name of the parking lots?
I'd like to.
Works for us.
Any objection to that? Okay, very good.
All right, thank you for your direction.
Thank you. If it's okay with the council, we will go back to agenda item number 2. We will come out of recess in the public hearing, and I'll turn it to Glenn once again.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Upon review with staff, we would recommend an adjustment of that assessment from $59,1398 to $1,204.38. The reason for that recommendation is that we eliminated a sanitary sewer main that served 3 parcels. All 3 parcels, we installed approximately the same length of footage, and it was to eliminate a sanitary sewer main that served those 3 parcels. They were 808 and 810 Box Elder and 310 Whitney Street. It was inadvertently missed in our review of the assessments. We would recommend that change, with wastewater picking up the difference.
Any questions about that recommendation? If not, open it back up for are there any other comments as part of the public hearing? Corey, you're okay? Okay. Any other input as part of the public hearing? Any questions from the council as part of the public hearing?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion by Charlie, is there a second? Second. Seconded by Mike, to close the public hearing. Discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. We'll now consider the resolution that would adopt the supplemental assessment with the change that had been recommended at the public hearing. Any questions about that resolution?
I would move adoption of the resolution with the change that Glenn has stated.
Second.
Motion by Larry, seconded by Dan. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Agenda item number 7 is Council Member Commission Board Liaison Report. Jenny, do you have, or, excuse me, I was getting ahead of myself. Council Member Commission Board Liaison Report, I'll start on, and none of mine have met since our last meeting. Mike?
Airport meeting, commission will be next week. Lyon County Enterprise Development met a week ago, and this weekend, Friday and Saturday, was their first experimental road show to Watertown. They did it Friday and then Saturday morning, basically to try to, there's a company that has closed over there, so they went over there with the intent of trying to recruit people to move to Lyon County. And I have not had a chance today to visit with Norwich, so I don't know the results. The Merit Center had an open house here in connection with the Lyon County fire drill, all county-wide fire drill, last Thursday night. It was not real well attended, probably in part due to some poor advertising or lateness of advertising. I was at my first police commission meeting, and you have the minutes of that meeting were on the table here tonight. And Ways and Means is meeting on Wednesday. That's it.
Okay, Larry?
None of mine have met since our last meeting.
Jenny?
Human Rights met last Monday and for the most part discussed upcoming Human Rights Day and a proclamation perchance and different advertising and articles in the paper for that.
Okay. And Mike?
Hospital and Utilities met last week, but I was unable to attend either one, so I'll have to wait for minutes on those.
And Dan?
None of mine have met.
Charlie? Okay, we'll move on. Agenda item number 8 is council member individual items. Jenny, we'll start with you.
I wanted to ask about the dangerous dog ordinance. How is that? Is it coming together?
I
Or
believe so, but it should.
will it be on the agenda in the next month or so? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch.
The dangerous dog
Dangerous dog
ordinance
ordinance.
for L&O probably to consider and then bring forth the council.
Anything else, Jenny?
Nope, that was, should be all.
Larry?
The only thing I have is, Mike, you're in charge, or you're the chair of Personnel Committee,
Yes.
and I will be absent tomorrow, but Mr. Santa will step in my place.
Okay.
Because you promised lunch.
Very good. Charlie?
Whatever. Thank you.
Nothing after that.
Okay, Dan? Mike?
Just ask Glenn, is the opening still planned for Thursday?
The opening, actually, it's a closure, Mike.
Wow.
But yes, we're still on track to do that. It will be Thursday. I believe the event is 4 to 8 p.m. And the intent is then to open the street on Friday morning. After that, I don't know if they'll be around for opening it Thursday night yet. And then we are still planning to have the homecoming parade on Saturday, which will be a closure for the regular detour as we usually would have for that homecoming parade. And that will end essentially at 6th Street. They kind of disband at 5th Street by the Nickel. But that's the plan of attack, and it still was today, and the weather was good, and we had some things delivered, and we believe that we can do it. Now, we won't be done. The project won't be done. We'll still have work on the right-of-way. We'll still have some sealing to do. We'll still have some things to do. I understand that they're working with the fire department on doing some sidewalk washdowns to get things kind of spruced up and ready to go for the Thursday night. So that's still our intent, weather permitting.
Thank you.
Glenn, as long as you're on that, the painting, the striping will be done too?
It should be done tomorrow. Again, weather permitting, there's some showers in the forecast, but the intent was to stripe it tomorrow. We also will be striping South 4th Street from Main Street to Saratoga Street. So if you've seen some removal of some of those stripes, they will be also replaced under the same project.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Mike?
No.
Mike?
No.
Okay, let's move on then to review of pending agenda items. Any comments on the pending agenda items? If not, agenda item number 10 will be to consider the authorization to go into closed session. But before we do that, I just want to recognize that we have a number of young people that are here that are, well, everyone's welcome here, but a number of the audience are young people from the Mr. Grabow's class and government class, so welcome to this meeting. Typically, our meetings are longer than this. You're welcome to come back to another meeting, so.
Do we all get the form signed?
Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Motion by Charlie, seconded by Dan, to go into closed session. Discussion?
I think we need some signatures.
Well, call for a vote on to go into closed session. When we go, all those in favor of going into closed session, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, we will enter into closed session. We'll provide some time for people to leave. If